Welcome to our second episode as we take a journey into unraveling God's truth, God's plans with regards to our marriage and our families. We just want to look at how the marriage institution and family have been under attack from God's enemy, who is the devil. It is interesting to note that at creation, God gave us two blessings. He gave us the blessing of rest, and He called that rest the Sabbath rest. And He also gave us a second blessing, the blessing of a marriage, the marriage institution. And these two blessings were given to humanity before sin even entered. And in His love, God has, even beyond the advent of sin, He has sustained these two blessings towards man. If man desires, they still can enjoy the blessings of the Sabbath rest. And by choice, people are still enjoying the blessings of marriage. These are the things that God has blessed humanity with, so that we get to enjoy His love, enjoy His blessings to us. Now, it is God who gave us. It is God who created the Sabbath rest and made it holy. It is God who also gave us the marriage institution and made it holy. So, because of their character of holiness, these two blessings have been relentlessly attacked by the devil. The devil has always been against anything and everything that is godly. And hence it is no surprise if he is attacking the holiness of the Sabbath and the holiness of marriage. Now, it's interesting also to note, as you read Psalm 127 verses 1, that if individuals decide to enter into marriage outside of God, that marriage is void. It's nothing. They do it in vain. But if you look at God's desire and design for marriage, He desires that people enjoy the blessings of marriage. I just want to take you through the book of Psalm 133, just 3 verses. It says, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious oil upon the head, running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the edge of his garments. It is like the dew of Hermon, descending upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore." So as we are looking at marriage and family, the desire, the design from God is that it should be a pleasant thing. It should be an enjoyable thing. It should be something that brings joy and health to the family. But because of the devil, this is not so. There are many people who think that, or who feel that, or who are saying that they are in a marriage that is a hell on earth. Because the devil is attacking relentlessly the institution of marriage. You then realize that God's desire and plan for marriage has been distorted. You then realize that because of the distortions that the devil has brought into the marriage and family institution, that is why we are going through the pain, the heartaches that we are going through. That is why we are going through the misery that we are experiencing every day. Now, God's desire and plan for marriage was, number one, he desired men to have company. And he desired that it was one man meeting with one woman to form a marriage. That was the initial plan from God. Unlike what we are seeing today, where because of the attacks of the devil, marriage in this world is now common amongst same sexes. You find John marrying Andrew, Mary marrying Elizabeth. And yet, from the account we get in the book of Genesis chapter 2, God created Adam and an opposite sex, Eve, and brought these two together to form a union that is called marriage and family. So we already see that the devil has attacked the fiber, the core of a marriage and family, destroying what God has desired, that marriage be enjoyed between two individuals from the opposite sex. Number two, God intended the marriage to be the primary missionary center where God's character is revealed to those that are around. Now, he created marriage so that he sustains his likeness in men. And that as he gives the commandment to Eve and Adam to procreate and fill the whole earth, God desired the earth to be populated with individuals that take after him. God desired to populate the entire world with people who resembled himself in character. And that was going to be sustained through the right format of engaging and living our marriages and our families. And as he created marriage institution, we read from Colossians chapter 1 verse 16 that this institution called marriage was meant to give God the glory and the pleasure. Because Colossians 1:16 states clearly why God created what he created. We read the text that says, "For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for himself." So, who is supposed to benefit from marriage and family? It is God, because he created it, he initiated it for himself. If man was to enjoy, for men that was a bonus, that was an added incentive, that was secondary. But the primary goal, purpose for a marriage is that God enjoys watching us living out our marriages. The primary purpose is that God should enjoy watching us raising a godly seed within our families. And as we are doing this, if we then get to enjoy it, that's an added bonus. Therefore, because of this plan from God, you then realize that the devil has brought in other issues that are slowly, but they are rapidly gaining momentum in digging into and destroying the fiber of marriage and family. All around us, every day, we witness events, we witness things that are happening that are meant deliberately to destroy the fiber of family. Let's just look at a few examples that will highlight to us that the marriage and family institution, as designed by God, as planned by God, are under serious attack. Firstly, as you look at legislation that is being passed around the world, it appears as though nations are actually stampeding each other in passing legislation that formalizes, that favor same-sex relationships. And yet God desires and designed it to be between two opposing sexes. We are seeing legislature, we are seeing laws being passed that are against, that will punish parents for disciplining their children. And yet God, who instituted this institution, gave authority to parents to discipline their children because they love them. But we are seeing men going all out, giving rights to where God did not give rights, to favor, to protect that which is ungodly. No wonder when we are seeing evil prospering, it is prospering because we have got men and women clamoring and putting legislation that favors fighting against God. You also want to look at the economic warfare against marriage. Satan is deliberately designing and implementing this economic warfare so that he undermines the authority of God with regards to how we should live as husband, wife, and children. How can it be? Because of the economic challenges faced by people the world over, especially within our context. How can it be that we can afford to have partners living far apart for lengthy periods against God's will and design? You find the wife is in Harare, Zimbabwe, and the husband is working in the UK, or it's vice versa. You find one partner is in South Africa, whilst the other is out there in the rural Cholocho. And these are sustaining months, if not years on end, without seeing each other. Indeed, God's design for a marriage is that the husband will leave his father and mother and cling to this one, and these two become one flesh. And the tragedy that befell humanity was when Eve strayed from Adam just for a short time, and the devil struck. So it is not sustainable according to God's plan that spouses live their separate ways. The result is that either we are having child-headed families with all the evil that is attendant to that. For those that care to observe what's happening around them, you realize that child-headed families have got the challenge of drug and substance abuse. Because there is no father figure, there is no mother figure, there are no parents around to teach them godliness. All the parents are doing is just to send them money which is used to spoil themselves by going against the word of God. We are experiencing high divorce cases in the world today. A quick study will reveal to us that most of these divorce cases are happening between spouses that are living for long periods separated because of economic issues. Again, fighting against the plan of God. We have got people who are now valuing more material and financial gain against valuing godly issues. People can afford, and with a very clear conscience, not to attend church. The people can afford not to give themselves time for Bible study, for prayer at home as family, simply because they are running after making the extra dollar. And the end result is that there is an undermining of the moral values, the core moral values that should make our families, that should cement our marriages. You want to look at media? One instrument which the devil has used devastatingly to destroy the marriage and the family. Media has been used to normalize the abnormal. There are a lot of abnormalities in today's world that we have turned to be very normal. It is a result of how media has played this out, that we become used to that which we shouldn't be used to. People actually, especially those of the female side, there are a lot, and the figures, the numbers are growing, they are ballooning each day, of people who are proud in their single parenthood. Mature people deciding consciously not to engage in marriage, but they desire to have children. So they will just simply look for a man, look for a partner, get a child, and go their separate ways. And in today's world's eyes, there is nothing wrong at all in that, because we have normalized the abnormal. We have looked at the issue of live-in partners. Yesterday, it was frowned upon, but today, we have got more and more of our brothers, our sisters, who are just cohabiting, living in with their partners, behaving like dogs, who have no conscience that this minute this dog is mating with that one in that street, immediately it is done. You give it another hour, it will be many streets away and enjoying another partner there. That is how low man has gotten. Why? Because media has desensitized us to abnormal things so much that they have become quite normal in our lives. You see, the issue of same-sex relationships, I just want to challenge you. Watch any movie, watch most of the cartoons that are being produced today. They all are encouraging, they all are promoting same-sex relationships. To our children, it's now normal. You actually be very awkward if you want to comment otherwise. The issue of casual sex. You sleep here, you rise from that, you go, it's done. No conscience. Why? Because the devil simply wants to remove the holiness that God did put into marriage and family. Once we destroy these fibers that cement together the holiness of the marriage institution, at the end of the day, we remain with no marriage to talk about. Now, because of this, that is why God is now being rapidly and is gaining momentum, that God is being elbowed out of our marriages and our families. People, we want to live as though we own ourselves. People want to live without moral guidance in our lives. And the results? Devastating. The results are, we have got dysfunctional marriages and families. We've got these families where children do as they please, where one spouse does as they please. It's everyone for whatever they want to do, whatever they believe in. Very dysfunctional families. Why? Because we have allowed the devil, using us as agents, to destroy the fibers that bind and make marriage to be what it is in the eyes of God. As a result of the attacks of the devil on the marriage institution, that's why abusive relationships and families are on the increase. Yesterday, these statistics were very low. Why? Because our forefathers, those that lived before us, they valued God in their marriages. And hence, the issue of violence and abusive relationships, those were very few, scarce and far in between. But today, you read of, you see of, you hear of abusive marriages within our families, within our relatives, within our community and societies. It is now so common. People do not even blink about it anymore. You look at the moral decadence that is prevalent in our societies. When children behave as though they are animals. When a men behave as though they are under a spell of some demon. There is no more that moral fiber that makes us to be people, to be human. Why? Because we have tampered with the template of God pertaining to marriage. We have unprecedented violence within our families, between and amongst couples. That's why women rights groups, etc., are on the increase. It is because we have failed God. We have failed to allow God to be God in the marriage institution. Let me just remind you, Psalm 127 again, verse 1, where God is clear with regards to the family. Psalm 127, verse 1. The Bible says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain." Therefore, whatever it is that we do, trying to protect marriage, family, institutions can pass legislation. We can clamor for this and that right. But unless and until we invite God back into our marriages, into our families, the Bible is clear. We are laboring in vain. You see, for us to have sanity in this institution, where husband respects their wife and where wife respects and also loves their husband, our marriages need God. If we have to have a family, we have to have children that honor and respect their parents. Children and young people who honor and respect the adults in the community. We need God in our families. That's why we need to go back to factory settings, to how God desired and designed the marriage institution. David, as he writes Psalm chapter 90, verse 12, he says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." As we see evil seemingly prospering around us, we need to ask God to teach us to look into and read into the events that are happening around the world, and that He may teach our hearts wisdom, what we need to do in our families, what we need to do within our marriages. Without the wisdom of God, anything and everything that our world will do in trying to reshape, reform, or panel beat our marriages, the text was clear. It is all in vain. That's why as you read Romans chapter 12, Paul has a very clear message for families today. Romans chapter 12, the verse is 2. Paul invites us, appeals to us to say, verse 2, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." Friends, it is clear from our experiences within our families, within our communities, within our nations, that there is something terribly wrong in the setup and functionalities of our marriages and families. It is clear and evident that the legislation has failed us and will continue to fail us. No amount of clamoring for women's rights, girl child rights, children rights, nothing, no amount of that will ever right this wrong. All that it means is to allow God back into our marriages. Allow God to take control and dictate what should happen within our families. The good picture painted by Isaiah as we close in Isaiah chapter 8, when he looks far into the future at the close of this earth's history, where we are brought to account for our lives on earth. He brings this beautiful picture in verse 18, where he says, "Here am I, and the children whom the Lord has given me. We are for signs and wonders in Israel, from the Lord of hosts who dwells in Mount Zion." My prayer is, each family, each marriage institution can stand proud at the end of the day and proudly say before God, here I am with my spouse and the children that God has blessed us, because we stand here as signs to the world around us. Don't you want, friend, to also be a sign, to also be a model of what it is to have family, of what it means to be in a marriage set up that is blessed by God, in a marriage that still sustains the holiness with which it was given and sustained by God even before creation. I know as you listen to this presentation, the Holy Spirit has been whispering to you that you need to take action, and take that action now to try and undo the effects that the devil has been throwing at marriage. You want to reform your family. You want to reform your marriage. Maybe you've been wondering how you can do it, but it is clear, friend, that it is only by allowing God into our marriage, by allowing God into our family, that there can be positive change, that there can be sustainable change in our families. You might want prayer. You might need to be connected to someone who can give you some counseling as an individual or as a family. Still, you might desire more studies to allow God to reveal to you more truths about how He wants you, how He wants me to live within the marriage and family setup that He initiated. The manual for marriage and family we can only get from the author of that institution, and that is God. If that's your prayer, you can contact me on the number that is showing on your screen. I will be happy to link you with a prayer partner close to you. I will be happy to link you with a counselor who is close to you. I'll be happy to pray with you and for you. I'll be happy to share more Bible studies with you. It doesn't take much. Just contact me on the numbers that showing on your screen, and allow God to be God in your life. Until then, may God bless you.